Okay, so moving on to arithmetic operators, we're going to take a look at how we can basically manipulate values through addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, and we'll also look at modulus as well, so remainders. Very basic. There's not really much to talk about here. Of course, expressions can get extremely advanced, but in this case we'll basically just look at performing calculations between different numbers and then setting them back to variables. So we're basically going to have a couple of numbers. So for example, I'll say num1, and this could be 20, and I'll go ahead and say num2, and this could be 40. Now I'm going to create a new variable called result, and we're just going to add these together. So we'll use the operator, the plus sign, to perform an addition. So it's basically num1 plus num2. And all that will do is it will perform this calculation and assign it to this result variable. And on the same line, we'll just go ahead and echo this out. So in our browser now, what we can do is we can see the result of this. So in that case, it's 60. 40 add 20 is 60. We can do exactly the same thing as well with minus, so subtraction. In this case, we'll refresh and get the result minus 20. We can also perform multiplication, division. So multiplication, use an asterisk. You obviously don't go ahead and use an X, it wouldn't make sense in this case. So we use an asterisk to perform multiplication. In this case we get the result 800, and we can also divide as well, so we can get a result of 20 divided by 40, which is 0.5 or half. So in the case of these, they're very basic. There's not really much to talk about. I guess the only thing to bear in mind is that when you use brackets, you're obviously setting the precedence of what needs to be calculated first. So in this case I might want to say num1 plus num2, and then I might want to divide that by 2, for example. So in this case we get 40 add 20, which is 60, and then half of that is 30. Now if we were to take this away, what result do we get? Well, if we refresh, we get a completely different result, and that's because we're saying num1 plus num2 divided by 2. So it's the same as doing this, for example, and we get the same result. So you need to be careful where you place your brackets. It's one of them things. Now what we can also do is we can also use modulus, and basically this gives us the remainder of a number. Now you might be thinking, well, why do I need to find out remainder? Well, this is useful for things like working out if numbers are even or odd or not. So if we have a num here, let's say 4, and we say echo num mod 2 even, otherwise odd. So let's go ahead and preview this in the browser. When we refresh, we see, oh sorry, there we go. So in this case we see even output because we want to check if the remainder of the modulus operation is 0 or not. We could of course also do something like this using our comparison operator. So we see even there. If we go ahead and change this to odd, then we see that it's an odd number. We see that this comes out with odd. So this is useful for things like if you're looping through results and you want to perhaps add a class to each row of a table to determine if it's odd or not. There's a variety of things you can do for this, but it's often overlooked as a solution to the most basic problems in terms of that. There are obviously other more complicated things you can do with arithmetic operators, but in this case we've just had an overview of the basics of the operators.